Fox News now reporting White House logs show Hunter Biden's business partners and assistants visited the White House 80 times while Joe Biden was serving as vice president. And while other banks have blocked access, the Chinese-linked bank Cathay Bank has just released Hunter Biden's bank records to House Republicans.
What's concerning to us is there any sort of blackmail opportunity for China against the United States because of those close working relationships?
In a statement, a Cathay Bank spokesperson said it's a NASDAQ-listed U.S. financial institution and intends to cooperate with the committee and is neither owned nor affiliated with the Chinese government. President Biden, meanwhile, has maintained for years he was not involved in any way.
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was on the board. I found out he was on the board after he was on the board, and that was it.
Hunter Biden himself now fighting back, suing the Delaware-based computer repairman he says shared private information from his laptop with the public. As the Justice Department's investigation into Hunter Biden continues in private, House Republicans say they want to be more transparent about what they're learning, with new information being released just about every week here on Capitol Hill.
Do you know what time it is?
It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I need a crack rock on the spot.
All right, today is Friday, April 14th, 2023. Whew, it's Friday, baby. GOP senator says CCP sent messages to Biden by having bank in China share Hunter Biden's bank records. My God, we will unpack this massive story. Air National Guardsman arrested in Pentagon leak, exposing lies about the war, and Congresswoman Lauren Boebert joins the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is the show. Ladies and gentlemen, the show today brought to you by Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee is with me every single day inside of the studio. Blackout Coffee powers this program. Blackout Coffee is an American-based company. They are based right here in Florida, actually, not too far from where we broadcast. It keeps me going every single morning. Now, I sometimes drink out of my Blackout Coffee mug. Today, I'm drinking out of my Patriot Mobile mug. Even has my little name on it. But inside is that sweet, delicious brew made right here in the US of A by a patriotic company. I highly encourage you, if you need caffeine in the morning, to use Blackout Coffee. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny and use the coupon code Benny for 20% off your order. Stop giving your money to woke corporations, especially coffee companies, because a lot of those are woke, that hate you and they don't care about your values. Stay true to your values. blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out that the Chinese are now proving something to Joe Biden. Now, it happens to be tax day, right? So, tax day, taxes are due. Do you feel confident that you are paying taxes to a government that cares about you? Do you feel confident that you are paying taxes to a government that views all Americans as equal? I will prove to you this morning that no, they indeed do not. And that with 100% assurity, the Bidens belong in prison. And more importantly, the Chinese are starting to send the Bidens messages that they're not playing along anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, our government is run by a criminal cartel. The major defining points of a criminal cartel is that they operate with their own moral code. People like Joe Biden, who are servants of the deep state, who are servants of the super state, they get to skate. They get away with literal murder, if you're talking about the Clintons or the Epsteins. But people like Joe Biden have been able to skirt and flout American law for a very long time. And one of the places that you go to get paid if you're a corrupt business person is China. Hunter Biden went on a trip with Joe Biden to China in 2013. Not many people wrote about it. Not many people talked about it because most people thought that Joe Biden's political career was over. He was already diseased and full of dementia at that time. Nobody could understand what Joe Biden was saying anyway. And even Barack Obama was saying, don't let Joe around. He's going to F things up. But lo and behold, here we are. And so even NBC News was forced to report when Joe Biden started to run for president again in 2020 that this doesn't look very good. Check it out.
2013 trip to China getting new attention this morning, not for what Joe Biden did, but for who he brought with him. His son, Hunter, joining the then vice president on the official visit to Beijing, along with Hunter's daughter, Finnegan. Unknown to the press back then, Hunter Biden was forming a Chinese private equity fund, planning to raise money, including from Chinese investors. Years later, Hunter Biden acknowledged that during the trip, he met with a Chinese banker, which his spokesperson describes as a social visit, not a business one. 10 days after the Biden's trip, Shanghai authorities issued the fund's business license.
So, okay, wait a second. Hunter Biden is going to China. Does Hunter Biden speak Chinese? Is Hunter Biden a banker? Hunter Biden's leaving China on a taxpayer-funded trip, by the way, with billions of dollars in investment money. Now, I'm no financial genius, but it really can get you a lot of money managing money, right? So if you have someone managing $1 billion, you take points on the amount of money that you're managing. And even if you're taking like a small fraction of points on $1 billion, that means tens of millions of dollars a year goes right into your bank account. But why would the Chinese give Hunter Biden billions? Has the Chinese ever given you billions? The Chinese have only ever given me heartburn after going to Panda Express, getting General Tso's chicken. That's all the Chinese have ever given me. They've never given me billions of dollars. How does this happen? It's very, very curious. And where did all the money go? Where did it go? I sure would like to know that, and now we're starting to find out. A Chinese bank called Cathay Bank, which is a Chinese state-affiliated bank that exists here in the States. This is a bank that the Bidens used in order to stash some of this cash. And now, those bank records are being handed over to congressional Republicans. So we have breaking here. GOP Senator CCP is sending a message to Biden by having the Bank of China share Hunter's bank records. Woof. This is from Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson is a senator, and Ron Johnson, along with the great Chuck Grassley, Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, is saying that China is trying to send Joe Biden a message. We got the goods on you, buddy, and we are willing to dish it up. The firm reportedly gave $1 million to the Biden crime family, and Hunter Biden, of course, had a long history of getting involved with various nefarious Chinese nationals. Some of those Chinese nationals actually were arrested by our government and extradited to China. One of them was called the Spy Chief of China. Now, who calls him that? Well, interestingly enough, it's Hunter Biden who calls this man that. According to Hunter Biden's own voicemails, Hunter Biden was involved with the Spy Chief of China. That man was arrested, and now Hunter Biden is having a paranoid panic attack about being named inside of a criminal suit. We have this from his own mouth. Watch.
I get calls from my father to tell me that the New York Times is calling, but my old partner Eric, who literally has done me harm for I don't know how long, is the one taking the calls because my father will not stop sending the calls to Eric. I have another New York Times reporter calling about my representation of literally, Dr. Patrick Koh, the spy chief of China, who started the company that my partner, who was worth $323 billion, founded. It is now missing. The richest man in the world is missing, who was my partner. He was missing since I last saw him in his $58 million apartment and signed a $4 billion deal to build the largest.
So the bleeping there is because we try as hard as we can not to drop F-bombs on this show. Hunter Biden drops 7 F-bombs in that voicemail. It goes on and on and on, but that's the pertinent effects there. What do you have? You have in that single 60-second voicemail, Hunter Biden admitting that he signed $4 billion deals with Chinese spy chiefs. He said it right there. You see the text on the screen. The spy chief of China was Hunter Biden's business partner. This family is owned by the Chinese. Not only that, this family is terrified about what they've done in China. Ladies and gentlemen, check out this article from the New York Times. Chinese tycoon sought power and influence. Washington responded. Ye Jianming courted the Biden family and networked with former United States security officials. Today, his empire is crashing down. Here is a photo of Ye Jianming. He's the man sitting there at the table, the thin man. This person was a Chinese oil tycoon. We don't know where this person is now, because this guy's been locked in the darkest dungeon of China. But what did he end up doing? This man went to America. You can scroll through the entire article. It's like a 5,000 word article. This man came to America to court soft families who were corrupt to try and buy America's gas. China is not a gas-rich nation. China needed gas. And who did they go to first? The Bidens. And what did the Bidens do? Sold our petroleum reserves. Now, Joe Biden is physically selling America's petroleum reserves. But back in the day when this was happening, this is in 2014, 2018, they were trying to literally buy American gas. So the Chinese were trying to purchase American oil fields in Texas. So where the F is the district attorney's investigation into that in Texas? Where's that? Why are we not investigating that? How are you allowed to sell to our adversary, a country that will probably be at war with really soon here, if you were to believe the leaked Pentagon papers? How are you able to sell our natural gas to them? Also, in this article, what you will find is that Joe Biden was really nervous about it. Now, how do we know that? Am I sitting here thinking, seeing what's inside Joe Biden's brain? That wouldn't work very well because it is literally just simply filled with lukewarm sawdust and applesauce. No, I can hear it from Joe Biden's own voice. I can listen to a voicemail because of Hunter Biden's laptop of Joe Biden talking about that article, the New York Times article, and saying, oh, I think you're in the clear here. I think you're in the clear. Is that what innocent people say to each other? Have a listen for yourself. Tell me what you think in the comment section.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you.
I think you're in the clear. If you called your son or daughter or someone you loved and were talking to them about the day's events, would you say, I think you're in the clear? This is a crime family. We are for the first time in American history, we are being run by a foreign agent. Joe Biden is a foreign agent of China. You can see the breadcrumb trail here, and this is why the Chinese are sending messages to the Biden family right now. You best not F around or you shall find out. I don't know how to say that in Mandarin, but that's what they're saying. We have the goods on you. You came to China. You came to China. Show that photo of Hunter Biden getting off the Air Force Two. You came to China. You flew here. You stayed here for a couple of days. You got billions of dollars from us, and we have all of the receipts, and we will happily share them. We got you by the balls. There they are. Hunter Biden. Do you know that Hunter Biden was on that plane because he had just been kicked out of the Navy? The pathway to Hunter Biden was he was going to go do military service, and then he was going to run for office. But he did too much crack in the Navy. This is not your boy Benny pontificating. This is real. He was kicked out of the Navy for crack. Then he had a mental break. He drove across the country. He was arrested a couple times for the amount of crack he had in his car. The rental car company said that they found drug paraphernalia in Hunter Biden's car. All of this is true. All this is real. And then what happens next? He goes into the family business anyway. Here he is with Joe Biden. Walking into China. And do you not think that the Chinese have recordings of those meetings? Don't be silly now. Do you not think that the Chinese don't have recordings of these meetings? Don't have the documents? Don't have the film of what Hunter Biden was doing in his hotel room there in China? What hookers he had brought in? If you're going to read Sun Tzu's Art of War, you're going to understand, so the Chinese general, you must attack the enemy where they are the weakest. And the Bidens are the weak point for our nation. And now you're starting to find that out through the bank statements. You're starting to understand that for just a little bit of Chinese cash, which is actually just American fiat currency given back to the country that prints fiat currency, for a little bit of money, they could buy the Bidens. What a great investment. And now we know those bank records, what they show. We know that they show in an unbelievable amount of cash flowing directly from China directly through the Biden family. James Comer is getting these bank records. He's an American hero for doing it. And here's what he has to say about it.
Important that the money trail shows dates and amounts of money. Notably, March 1st, 2017, it reads less than 2 months after VP Joe Biden left public office, State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese company, wired $3 million to Rob Walker's company. The next day, the company wired $1,065,000 to a company associated with James Gilliar, another Biden family associate. Afterwards, the Biden family, received approximately $1 million in payments over a 3-month period in different bank accounts. From the bank records, it appears that the Biden family received approximately 1/3 of the money obtained from the China wire.
So, what to do now? This is why we will continue to cover this issue and continue to cover this issue and continue to cover this issue. We mustn't let go of the fact that America is run currently by a fifth column, by a foreign agent, an agent of China. Now, what does China regularly do? Whether it's COVID or whether it's the lockdowns, they'll lie to the American public. Luckily, they have a protege in cringe Jean-Pierre when presented with the physical bank records of Bank of America about Biden's dirty business dealings with China, cringe Jean-Pierre had this to say.
House Oversight says they've got bank records showing a Chinese energy company paying 3 Biden family members through a third party. What were they paid for?
Look, I'm just not going to respond to that from here. Look, we have heard from House Republicans for years and years and years how the inaccuracies and lies when it comes to this issue. And I don't even know where to begin to even answer that question, because again, it's been lies and lies and inaccuracy for the past couple of years, and I'm just not going to get into it from here.
Okay.
So the bank records printed in black and white ink, those aren't real. Got it. James Comer had one hell of a response to this.
But Congressman, tonight you're demanding that Biden correct what you're saying is his dishonest denial about making money off China through his son. Tell us more about the steps you're taking.
We're the fact checkers on this. We provided the bank records that show the bank wire transactions over $1 million worth into at least 3 and possibly 4, because one of the bank wires just said Biden on it, and we haven't figured out who that person is. But 3 of his family members received over $1 million from the Chinese Communist Party. Now, why did they do that? And Joe Biden has lied about that. He has continually lied about it and lied about it again, but yet no one in the mainstream media is holding him accountable for that lie. We want him to apologize for his lie. And my goodness, where is the media to fact check this guy? We provided bank records. They can't say it's Russian disinformation anymore.
There are 2 things that are holding back this story inside of Washington, D.C. And I lived inside of Washington, D.C. for 15 years. Let me lay it out very, very plainly and simply. 2 things. 1, buying influence and corruption is the only market in Washington, D.C. If you take down the Bidens for this, you will take down all of Washington with it. And I can already hear everyone in the comment section screaming and cheering for this. But this is the access point. Now, the media operate as agents of the state. And we will get to the leaked Pentagon papers here in just a second, and then we're going to talk to Lauren Boebert about all of it. But the media act as agents of the state in these scenarios. And in all scenarios. That's where their funding comes from, in some cases, with PBS and NPR, and it's where their access comes from. They're not reporters, they're simply a Praetorian Guard for those in power. They don't speak power to truth, they speak truth to power. Ladies and gentlemen, the media cannot have institutional Washington collapse, because they will collapse with it. That's who funds them, that's who buys their ads, and that's where their sourcing is. So the security state props up the media, vice versa, Operation Mockingbird, you know the drill. The only product in Washington is selling influence. Going after the Bidens for this is the first time in American history that Washington has been exposed, and they are losing their damn minds over it. It's why Joe Biden has always, when asked about this, denied that he knows anything about China. And that's never happened, actually. Listen to Joe Biden say this during the presidential debates, a great clip that needs to be played more often. Watch.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money.
Now, he was pointing at Donald Trump there. Okay, so this is really curious then. If you didn't make any money, then why did your son pay $50,000 in rent to you for your house in Delaware here, which is the exact amount of rent that he got from breaking a lease with the Chinese company that he was doing business with trying to sell American natural gas? It's not too hard, even a guy like me, room temperature IQ here, a nice warm 75, even a guy like me can sort of see the dots. Now, what happened here? What is the House of Sweden? The House of Sweden is a very fancy office space in Washington, D.C. It's right on the riverfront. It's right in Georgetown. The House of Sweden had an office for the Bidens and their Communist Party agents. Their handlers had an office. I'm showing you the building right here. There was a lease signed between the Bidens and the Communist Party of China, represented by the spy chief of China. They had keys minted that had Joe's name on it and Jill's name on it and Hunter Biden's name, along with the Chinese spy chiefs. They were going to share an office together. I will scream it from the rooftops until they're in jail. Now, once that lease was broken, because everyone was getting arrested, because the deal was so dirty that Donald Trump's DOJ finally started to have to put people in jail for it, and they did that to Ye Jiaming and Guan Dengao, which is the spy chief of China. They started to put people in jail. Hunter Biden didn't know what to do with the lease money, so he plopped it right into Joe Biden's bank account. That's where that comes from. You might recall, oh, wow, Hunter paid $50,000 a month to rent Joe Biden's house? That's where it comes from. Bingo. It's very simple if you just put the breadcrumbs together. That's how in league they were. And James Comer says, mark my words, pal, we're coming for you. James Comer says this is just the tip of the iceberg. He's been doing an excellent job. And follow the money. The best people who've come on the show, whether it's Kash Patel or whether it's Mike Davis, say follow the money. And that's what James Comer is doing. He says we got a couple dozen more banks to go here, buddy.
None of this makes sense, Sean. The money is what we're following. We're following the money that ended up in the Biden's pockets. And the thing that every American should be concerned about is what exactly was the service the Bidens were providing? Because I can tell you what our whistleblowers have told us. They were trying to help China do all the things that this Congress is in a bipartisan way trying to block China from doing. They were trying to help China get their foot in the door on the American energy
but
industry
here's my
by
question.
buying interest in drillers.
But did that deal with the Bank of China actually happen? Peter Schweitzer is convinced it did, and that there's a money trail that shows that.
Mm-hmm. We're going to subpoena more bank records. We're going to do everything in our ability to follow every bank trail. This one deal with Robinson Walker, this is the first deal. There are at least 10 or 11 more. And remember, none of those businesses ever materialized. So there was a lot of money that transferred from China to the Bidens. And what we want to know is, what did China get in return? Because I don't think China would spend this much money on this many different members of the Biden family if they weren't getting a return on their investments.
What is the return on investment? I ask you, have you ever been given billions of dollars by China? Has someone from the Chinese government walked up to your doorstep with a briefcase in hand, wearing a suit, and say, here's $1 billion. We hope that you manage it correctly for us. This is, if you take one thing away from this broadcast, this is the market of Washington, D.C. This is the currency of Washington. This is the filthy underbelly. When they talk about the swamp, this is it. They sell you out. They sell out your future. They sell out your children's future. They view America as the Titanic, as a sinking ship, and we're all just a bunch of dummies riding there in second class as they sell the brass off the Titanic. And the Bidens were the kings of this. The kings of it. So what they do is they rape and they desecrate American power and honor around the globe. And then they get rich off it. And it's not just in China, of course, but we had a whistleblower come out. James Comer is talking about multiple whistleblowers. We now know the absolute identity of one of them. A Obama employee, a stenographer who traveled with Joe Biden around the world, who wrote down, stenographer's job is to write down all the things that are said, all the things that are happening, wrote down the Biden crimes. Now, this is commonplace for executives inside of an administration to have a stenographer with them so that they can do readouts and printbacks, right, for the press and so on. The stenographer has now become a whistleblower and is cooperating with the FBI, trying to get the FBI to pay attention to the fact that he knows the Biden's corruption. Now, this stenographer is talking about another level of corruption in Ukraine. Hunter Biden gets nominated to the board of a Ukrainian gas company, and then Joe Biden suddenly becomes like a raging lunatic in trying to manufacture and create better oil industry for Ukraine. To the tune of spending $50 million American dollars. I know it looks like a very small amount that based on what we spent on the Ukrainian war, and we'll get to the leaked Pentagon papers here in just a second. Whew, baby, have you been lied to? Joe Biden becomes a raving lunatic. You know the guy who says he wants to end fossil fuels? He becomes a raving lunatic, blood in his eyes, spittle in his mouth. Get me to Ukraine now. I need to create better oil infrastructure for Ukraine. What's that about? What the hell's wrong with this guy? It's to make sure that his son, who's getting $1 million a year from the Ukrainians, well, that his son gets that sweet, sweet payout. This whistleblower, the bravest person that we have seen in a long time, the White House stenographer saying they have the goods to put Joe Biden in jail. Watch.
I went to the FBI and filled out their witness tip line. There's a website. You fill out all these tips, these web directions. I submitted it. If you lie to the FBI when you're submitting a tip like that, you can go to jail. I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth. Joe Biden is lying. Joe Biden is a criminal. That's the bottom line. I don't care if he goes to Timbuktu or Ireland or anywhere. He's a criminal. And I've got the evidence. If they put me in front of the grand jury that's right now seated in Wilmington with Special Prosecutor David Weiss, my testimony becomes the evidence that will put him in jail or will lead to his impeachment. Probably lead to his impeachment first.
So you're saying that Joe Biden wasn't going to Ukraine to fight corruption. Joe Biden was going to Ukraine to help the natural gas industry. At the time, he knew that his son was on the board of the biggest natural gas business conglomerate in Ukraine.
That's exactly right.
I am going to speak to the FBI, and I have the evidence to put Joe Biden in jail or impeachment, whichever comes first. That's what the man said. So where are the feds on this? Donald Trump is having to go to New York to get arraigned and arrested for imaginary crimes. This is a deep state in panic. This is a deep state in panic. You can tell that they're in panic because of organizations like Marco Polo that have gone through the laptop. The FBI has had the laptop since 2019. They've gone through, they've documented the amount of crimes in it. We put this up on the show, every single show, not because any of these people, we don't really even know them, probably be nice to interview them, but because this is such a detailed and sophisticated report with 450 plus federal crimes that have been documented in extraordinary legal detail by this organization and association. They're so good at their job that Hunter Biden's lawyer is suing them for invasion of privacy. Ooh, baby. You're going to see a trend here on this show. How it's not about the lies that we told or the crimes that we did, it's the fact that you knew about it. It's the fact that you know about it. That's the real problem. And that's what we're up against. But it's good. It's good to do shows like this. You've probably never heard those Biden voicemails, have you? You probably have not heard of this whistleblower, have you? We are going to set the axe to the grindstone. We are going to chop wood. We are going to continue down this path. We are going to do our own research. We have a number of things that we're building here, and we thank you for tuning in because it's so important for us to get this message out. Sometimes you feel like the crazy man screaming in the middle of a rainstorm. Like, like how criminal these people are. But we'll continue. And you know what? We'll win. The victory is ours. Ron Johnson, who is the person saying that China is now manipulating the Bidens, sending warning shots to the Bidens, has said openly that this Marco Polo report will be what leads to their downfall. Watch.
Senator, do you have a crime that you think Hunter Biden committed? Because I've yet to see anybody explain it is not a crime to make money off your last name.
So, Chuck, you ought to read the Marco Polo report, where they detail all kinds of potential crimes.
Oh, these absolute scum. Do you see it? Do you see it on play? They're not journalists. They're not reporters. They're protecting. They're handlers. They're like little guard dogs protecting the Bidens. Like the vicious little, not like an honorable dog, like a little chihuahua, like vicious little dog. Screaming and screeching and barking. Don't you look at that? It's not a crime to make money off your last name. It's corruption. And yes, actually, there are tons of rules in the books. Whew, man. It is a brutal news environment. It's moving so fast, and we must fight back. We must punch back. We wouldn't be able to do our jobs here at The Benny Show without dependable cell phone service, and that is why we're proud to always talk about our sponsors at Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is an American company. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They offer dependable nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. You can get the best possible coverage and a coverage guarantee. You need to stay connected. You need to be able to watch our show. And you need to have a firm cell phone coverage for these dark times, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta stay with people who support your values, especially when it comes to free speech. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call them right now at 878-PATRIOT. Get free activation today with the offer code Benny, patriotmobile.com/Benny. So how much is the Biden family still operating their criminal enterprise? Well, look no further than what they're doing in Ireland right now. There is some absolutely fascinating news breaking about Hunter Biden's firm seeking investments from the government of Ireland. So, according to Fox News here, the president's embattled son was invited to accompany him and his aunt to Ireland this week. In 2011, Hunter's partners of his now defunct investment firm sought making contacts to expand their energy investments in various state-owned investment funds, including China, Ireland, Oman, and Qatar, according to emails reviewed by Fox News Digital. In March 8th, 2011, Eric Schwerin, the firm's former president, sent Hunter and CEO Devin Archer an email containing Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute's current list of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is state-owned. Let's discuss this today. We can be doing something to connect these groups. They're talking about connecting the funds that they had from China to the wealth funds of countries, for instance, Ireland. So here you have Hunter Biden in Ireland, the same nation that he sought to muscle in and to try and get a coin off of. Wild, dirty, filthy leprechaun stuff. Watch.
But now we know Hunter has at least tried to do business in Ireland in his life. In 2011, he and his business partners tried to pitch a deal to the Ireland Strategic Investment Fund. There's some email traffic that we've got now where Hunter suggests that his partners reach out to the U.S. ambassador to Ireland, the late Ambassador Dan Rooney. It is unclear if a deal wound up getting done, and it's unclear if Hunter wound up attempting to connect with any of those business partners while in Ireland. He has been at his dad's events, he's been in his dad's motorcades, and at his dad's hotel since arriving here a few days ago. Fast forward 5 years from that Ireland outreach, Hunter Biden got an SEC subpoena in 2016 on an unrelated matter. He emailed his attorneys about it, and new records reveal that his attorney met with then Vice President Biden at the White House the same day the attorney met with Hunter. It is unclear what exactly they talked about, and it's unclear if that breaks the pledge that President Biden made years ago, 4 years ago, that he has never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings.
So the person who actually asked Joe Biden that is Peter Doocy. It's such an important clip. We play it probably once on the show. I'm sorry if you've already seen this clip before. This needs to be played. It needs to be put in the Smithsonian as the perfect example of the wrap-up smear, which is you accuse your enemy of doing what you're doing. Nancy Pelosi once, in like a drunken fit of pique, decided to describe what the wrap-up smear is. It's when they know that you've committed a crime. What you do is you take your opponent and then you say that they actually committed the crime. And then your friends in the press go and dog your opponent over your lie, and you get away with your crime. The wrap-up smear. You merchandise through the press the destruction of your opponent. Joe Biden did this to Peter Doocy's face, looked right down the barrel of the camera, and lied. We cannot play this clip enough. Watch.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Mr. Biden, ask the right question. Man. Oh. Pride cometh before destruction. The good book says. Pride cometh before the fall. Ask the right question. Man, these people are fit for a fall. And boy, how Joe Biden has fallen. Joe Biden yesterday in Ireland said he wants to lick the world. My God, my God. Everyone hide your kids. Hide your wife. Watch.
My heart. There's nothing our nations can't achieve if we do it together. I really mean it. So thank you all. God bless you all. Let's go lick the world. Let's get it done.
I feel bad for the ice cream cones that Joe Biden licks. I feel bad for the children that Joe Biden has to beeline over to. There's multiple clips of Joe Biden beelining over to these little kids, grabbing on them, like sniffing on them. He's doing this creepy tour to Ireland and Northern Ireland and England. Like, because that's what matters right now, actually. What matters right now is Northern Ireland and England in the world. Sure, we'll get to the Ukraine lies in just one moment. Watch, just because we have to. Because we can't help ourselves on this show. Watch Joe Biden start yelling at little Irish kids, talking randomly about COVID, and then Hunter Biden has to step in, put down the pipe, step in, and try and translate English for his father. Joe Biden ain't in Qatar. No one's speaking Arabic or Mandarin. These kids are speaking English to him, and Joe Biden, not only can he not understand them, he starts getting angry at these little Irish kids. Watch.
Dad, he's got a question. What's your question?
What's the top definition?
What's the top what? What's the top success? Well, making sure that we don't all have COVID. What are you talking about?
To success. Like, what's the key to success?
So what's the key to success? You know what I found out the key to success is? And I'm not sure I'm the best guy to explain it. These guys can tell you. The key to success is whenever you disagree with someone, it's okay to question their judgment, whether they're right or wrong. But it's never okay to question their motive.
Listen, you filthy, dirty old man. You're trying to put your political adversaries in jail. You sick, dementia-riddled creep. And this man is also someone who didn't know who the Prime Minister of Britain was. There's a clip where he like shoves the new Prime Minister of Britain aside. He has no idea who he is. A sign of dementia is actually frustration. and becoming angry and getting angry at your inability to function as a human being. That's actually a telltale sign of dementia. I'm sure that Joe Biden wishes that he himself had dementia, given the current news cycle. The current news cycle as it pertains to this Air National Guardsman, 21 years old. He was arrested yesterday for telling the truth. Okay, so this is a tough one. I don't want American soldiers to die. And I don't want people to leak information that should be classified that's going to hurt soldiers, right? Or hurt the people in my family who currently serve. I currently have an Army reservist in my family and a Marine sniper in my direct family. I don't want someone to leak information, so I'll start by saying that. 2, wait, there are soldiers in Ukraine? American boots on the ground? That's what we learned from these leaks. What we learned from these leaks is that the United States government is lying to you. That this is our war and American soldiers are fighting. So we're not going to put the documents up. The documents are clearly real. But it's also hard to know. It's hard to know like who's really at fault here because we've been lied to so much by these people. And one thing is absolutely correct. One thing is empirically true, which is that our corporate press see themselves as the defenders of the deep state. Somehow the Washington Post and the New York Times knew the identity of this individual before our federal agencies did. Well, why is that? Is that really true? Is the Washington Post and the New York Times smarter than the FBI, have more access to spy on Americans than the NSA? No, of course not. What happened was our deep state and our super state and our security state leaked to the New York Times and the Washington Post to set the narrative against this young man. This is morally hazardous. Nobody wants America's top secrets that could endanger our troops to be leaked. But why the hell are our troops in Ukraine? This is an incredibly important question. Now, what this young man did was reveal a number of major lies about this war. There's a good article here from Breitbart that says, what did the leaks say? What lies were exposed? Well, first off, and I'll just do a top line run through here, the docs expose that American boots are on the ground. These docs confirm that there have been massive losses in Ukraine that have been hidden from the American people, that Ukraine's army has been decimated, and that they have lost essentially all of the material that we've sent over there. So they also confirm that anti-air missiles are in deep shortage and that within a month or two, Ukraine will just have open airspace for Russia to bomb. That Ukraine has been doing drone strikes inside of Russia. That recent Israeli protests have been stirred up by Mossad against their own government. So Mossad, which is the Israeli version of our intelligence agencies, have been agitating a coup inside of their own nation. Does that sound familiar? South Korean ammo concerns that we spy on our allies, supposedly. That there have been a lot of Black Sea surveillance flights. That America essentially is controlling all of the airspace and that there is an enormous amount of personnel, American personnel, that are operating inside of Ukraine. Now, you have been lied to. The Biden administration said this isn't happening. And so what does the media do? Does the media immediately take that information and say, well, whatever the case may be, this information seems to be an official lie about the official narrative. You are lying to the American people. We have a constitutional right protected to hold you accountable. That's what the First Amendment is all about. Did the American press engage in their constitutional duty to hold the powerful accountable? No. The American press celebrated with glee at the arrest of this young man. And this man will go to prison for a very, very long time. They were used as apparatchiks of the state, and monstrous does not even begin to describe these actual actions. When I'm without words for my industry, I look to someone who has been a mentor to me, somebody who I've worked for, Tucker Carlson, who always seems to sum it up perfectly.
So this 21-year-old Air National Guardsman from Massachusetts is not a whistleblower, CNN explains, with the help of the many intelligence agency figures it has now hired as analysts. No, he's not a whistleblower. He's a criminal. Because he is, unlike the people who run our government, quote, hungry for power. And because this 21-year-old was so hungry for power, federal law enforcement had to swing into action with unfamiliar speed and efficiency and apprehend him. He was that threatening. Now, keep in mind, as of tonight, we still don't know where Jeffrey Epstein got hundreds of millions of dollars. We have no idea. Nor do we know what he did for a living. We don't know who left pipe bombs on Capitol Hill on January 6th, 2 of them. We don't know who leaked the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. We can't even say for certain who killed the President of the United States, because after 60 years, the Biden administration is still hiding thousands of pages of classified documents from the Kennedy assassination, just as they are hiding more than 1 billion other classified documents. But tonight, we can say for dead certain who embarrassed Toria Nuland and Joe Biden, and that kid is going to jail for a long, long time.
No idea who left pipe bombs in front of the DNC and the RNC. No clue. Who killed Jeffrey Epstein? Well, the cameras were turned off. We'll never know. Where's his money come from? No idea. Not sure. Who leaked the Dobbs decision? No, not sure. There's only like 50 people who work at the Supreme Court. There's not a lot of people. Who leaked that decision? Not sure. Don't know. But if you embarrass the liars in our government and expose their lies, well then, jail for you for a very, very long time. Doesn't matter. The people who are allowed to roam through your streets, burn your cities to the ground, they won't get touched. But if you prove that the guy who's in charge of our Pentagon was lying to you, this man's name is Lloyd Austin, the man who's in charge of all of our military, which is the largest corporation in human existence, the largest employer in the world, Lloyd Austin. If you prove that he was lying, baby, you're done for. Final clip from Tucker last night. Too good to not play.
Just 2 weeks ago, for example, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin told the U.S. Senate that Russian military power is, quote, waning. In other words, Russia is losing the war. That was a lie. He knew it was when he said it, but he repeated it in congressional testimony. That is a crime. But Lloyd Austin has not been arrested for committing that crime. Instead, the only man who has been taken into custody, or likely ever will be, is a 21-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guardsman who leaked the slides that showed that Lloyd Austin was lying.
So somebody who has congressional oversight over this via the Constitution is a congresswoman named Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert is a fighter. Lauren Boebert does not like liars. And Lauren Boebert has asked questions of these individuals before in Congress, and we very much look forward to her asking questions based on these revelations. Joining us now, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being on the show again. I want to sort of sit back and just let you talk about this current moment that we're living through where the entire regime seems to be in collapse. It's hard to tell what's true anymore. It's very difficult. You have the power of Congress. You are the first article of the Constitution, not the executive branch. The Congress is. You have the power to hold these individuals accountable. How do you see this landscape right now?
Certainly, we are going to aggressively go after these liars and bring them in and hold them to account for what they've been hiding from the American people. Benny, it's almost like nothing is true that comes out of Washington, D.C. Ever since I've been there, I have seen lie after lie exposed. And even in this case, the real criminal doesn't seem to be the Pentagon whistleblower. the whistleblower actually told the truth. And the truth is, we, the American people, have been lied to about the war in Ukraine. We have seen our boots on the ground. These documents that were revealed had shown American boots on the ground, and that we were engaged in an all-out war against a nuclear power, a nuclear superpower at that. And the real criminal, yet again, is not the Beijing Biden regime for lying to the American people by sending soldiers to fight a war against Russia. And I think I said the real criminal is not, but the real criminal is the Biden-Beijing regime. And, you know, according to our Constitution, a war can only be fought if Congress has authorized the war. The Biden regime abused its power by sending young American soldiers to die in a war that is not and should not be theirs to fight.
Yes. So the American public, which does not have access to classified documents like you and classified briefings, all we can do is watch the news of the Russians downing our aircraft. We can look at these documents and the news stories written about them and say, wait a second, at least a dozen members of American Special Forces are boots on the ground fighting the foremost nuclear power in the world. People don't understand that Russia has more nuclear weapons than we do, at least reported. And so this seems like just a very obvious oversight issue for Congress. Is there going to be hearings on this?
Oh, absolutely. There are going to be hearings. That's why we fought to have strong leaders in positions to hold these hearings, to issue subpoenas. But Benny, you see how Biden's cabinet members act when they come before Congress. Suddenly, they have amnesia over their entire existence, their entire job, their entire order of operations. They don't know anything. They can't remember anything. They can't recall anything. And that is just a guise to gaslight the American people and pretend like everything is fine and that we are the ones who are insane for asking these questions, for wanting to hold them account, for wanting to have congressional oversight. But we will be bringing them in. We'll be asking the tough questions. We have the weaponization of the federal government subcommittee that I know is just itching to get their hands all over this. We have the Judiciary Committee and, of course, the Oversight Committee, which I serve on. And I can't wait to start slinging subpoenas and get these people in for engaging in an unconstitutional war, for sending our soldiers to battle, sending our soldiers to die, and to really hold them responsible for what they're doing, lying to the American people about it. You know, it's amazing. And I think you mentioned this before I joined the show. Look at all of these leaks that have not gone anywhere. The people who actually leaked them, the whistleblowers, oh, well, they're heroes because they exposed a phone call. They released the Dobbs decision. Who knows who killed Jeffrey Epstein? But this, we caught the 21-year-old man immediately. Immediately, he's blasted all over every news station, and he's the one that we're going after instead of the lies that were exposed.
Yeah, I don't mean to ruminate on this single point. I don't mean to be obsessed with the single point, but if a Russian bullet kills an American GI, no matter what capacity they're in, you have World War III. This seems like the most simple question that Congress can do right now to the Pentagon is, are American boots on the ground? You have told us no. These documents say otherwise. Who is telling the truth? And if you've done that, then what you've done is you've declared war, right? Because what you've done is you're putting our boys in a war zone, and girls and everyone.
Yes.
And so you're usurping Congress's power by declaring an unconstitutional war. And then what will happen? Will you impeach? I mean, this seems like the gravest of possible sins that you can do as a government.
Right. I think just about all of them need to be impeached, Benny. You know, this is the same as Secretary Mayorkas coming and saying that the southern border is secure, or the Democrats say, well, we have more entry through our ports of entry than we do anywhere else, which is a lie. But then we see the ports of entry completely stormed by thousands of illegal aliens. This is their game plan. They want to deconstruct the United States of America. We have a teleprompter in chief who is ruled by China. He is their puppet, and he is owned by them, and he's propped up to destroy America on their behalf. And we see this in everything that they do, from business dealings with him and his son, to the cover up of everything that's going on in those relationships, and now to having seemingly American boots on the ground in Ukraine fighting this unconstitutional war. They have to come in, they have to tell the truth, they have to explain to the American people why it is they think they're in a position of power to usurp Congress, usurp the Constitution, and gaslight the American people. This has got to stop. And I think that many Americans are waking up and seeing this. This is far beyond hypocrisy. We know that if President Trump was in a position even similarly close to this, that Democrats and the mainstream media would be all over it and shouting impeachment. So this is so far beyond hypocrisy. The American people see it. And that's why we are starting to regain these levers of power to restore justice, to restore our Constitution, and get America back to a place where we can somewhat trust our government. I don't know if we'll ever be able to completely trust the federal government, but at least go on and live our peaceable lives, not wondering if our sons and daughters are going to be sent into a war that is undeclared by Congress.
Yes. This seems like probably item number one, declaring war, is the power for Congress and the oversight of the executive branch. And Joe Biden is fighting a war without your approval.
Right.
That just seems impeachable.
Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned China a couple of times, Beijing Biden. I love the moniker. We began the show with now Cathay Bank, which is a China-run bank, links with China, handing over the documents. Do you believe that this is a message from the communist Chinese to Joe Biden? Do you believe that this is like the beginning of a shot across the bow, that do not cross us, do not try and come after Taiwan? We have the goods on you and your family.
Biden knows that, China knows that, and many of us know that, and they will do anything that they can to make that completely clear, to make sure in the midst of his cognitive decline, he does not forget who actually owns him. Benny, it's really plain and simple. Joe Biden isn't the commander in chief. He's the criminal in chief. And this is, there are so many examples of the Biden crime family getting away with murder. Imagine if Donald Trump or Don Jr. Collaborated on foreign business deals. We see this with China and Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and nothing is done. But China is the one who actually has Joe Biden in check. And we have to keep this crooked family accountable. We field articles of impeachment, and we consider those. I certainly filed some in the summer of last year after the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. And now more than ever, I fully support the impeachment of Joe Biden. And honestly, even more than an impeachment, I think that he just needs to step down and resign and says, I let you guys down, but that's not going to happen because this isn't incompetency. They know exactly what they're doing. Like I said, they are here to deconstruct the United States of America and prop up China.
I think final question, because it's the public and the viewers are very aware of the open criminality. They watch Donald Trump get arrested and arraigned, and it's enraging. It's open. It's openly insulting. They are attempting to demoralize and humiliate us. You are on one of the best committees, the Weaponization of Government Committee, along with Judiciary. Can you give people some hope to the work that you're doing to hold this cartel into account?
Yes, well, I serve on the Oversight Committee, but I'm certainly in communication with all my friends on the other two. And I know that they're going to bring them in and continue to expose what has been going on. In the Oversight Committee, we were exposing big tech's collaboration with the federal government in censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story, something that we knew to be true. And they said, no, this is Russian disinformation. And as soon as Republicans were set to take back the House, CBS comes out and says, oh, actually, you remember that laptop from hell? yeah, that's real. And so we are continuing to expose everything that they have been hiding, including all of the business dealings that Hunter Biden had as he sat on the board in Burisma, the trips that have been taken on Air Force Two with his dad as vice president. We've seen Michael Cohen wanting to go before the grand jury and give his testimony, be a witness to the criminality that has taken place with Joe Biden. He's suggesting that Barack Obama be called in as a witness. And, it's now we see these foreign trips that are being taken after, Hunter Biden is, playing the role of the Easter Bunny and fielding his father from little children asking questions. He's acting as comms director and saying, no, Dad, let's, take this one over here. I'll handle this kid. That was a really tough question. It was a little bit higher level than what flavor of ice cream did you eat for breakfast this morning? But with the business dealings, even in Ireland, I mean, this right here is a huge concern that I certainly have. And it's not really the time to go on a trip to learn about your family's heritage in Ireland when our country is being utterly destroyed.
Yes. Speaking of family heritage, I just wanted to end by saying you will become a grandmother quite soon, I think.
Yes.
That's been printed.
I'm on baby watch still. So
okay.
She's about a week overdue. And, so we'll see how that goes. I have a feeling as soon as I go back to Washington, D.C., that's when Jackson will decide to enter the world. But I probably will be on a plane, and I might call in sick this week at work if that's the case. But we'll see what's going on there. And certainly if my vote would make the difference on important legislation. But I have that beautiful grandbaby that is coming any day now, and I'm so excited, and I'm so proud of them for choosing life, for taking a stand, and being responsible with this decision. I just couldn't be happier.
Yes. There's nothing more important. Nothing more important. If you need to miss votes in Washington, everyone understands. There's nothing more important than new life into this world. And you already have 5 sons?
I have 4 boys. Yes, I have 4
okay.
sons. So Tyler's the oldest, and then I was just at baseball with one of them last night, and I had a campaign event recently, and I told them, I said, I've spent the past week with my children, and it has just reignited why I am doing what I'm doing. This is for our posterity, to preserve their freedoms, their liberties, to secure their rights, and make sure that they have a free and prosperous country to thrive in and raise their children in. So, it's just so exciting to be able to have that time. I don't get a lot of time at home. It's part of the role that I've stepped into, but we certainly make that time very valuable and know why we're in this fight and doing what we're doing to serve.
Goodness, nothing more important than that, Lauren. Godspeed. We are praying for you. We're praying for a healthy baby. Congratulations.
Thanks so much, Vinny.
Lauren Boebert, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it wonderful to have fighters here? And she's going to become a grandmother. I think she's the same age as I am. She's going to become a grandmother. That's incredible. I mean, I believe that that's incredible. I also believe in outbreeding the left. I've said this publicly. We are more attractive. Our movement is more attractive. We have more attractive people. The left, have you seen these individuals? I've had to go to their protests. They're smelly. Their teeth are yellow. Their hair is pink. They're grotesque. Kind of smell bad in person. Nobody wants to have sex with those people. And even if they do, they're going to make horrible decisions. Yikes, they might live inside of one of these awful states that celebrates abortion, which is baby sacrifice, which is worshiping the devil, which is satanic. Yeah, no, we can now breed them. I'm trying to do my part, and we think that you should do your part responsibly. I'm sure there's many parents there's many parents watching right now. They're like, hot damn, and hell yeah. Because there is nothing better, actually, than becoming a parent. I don't know what it's like to become a grandparent. But Lauren Boebert does, and we think that's pretty incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have good news here from the state of Florida. The state of Florida just signed a 6-week abortion ban backed by Ron DeSantis. There's protesters that stormed inside of the state capitol, staged a little insurrection there, but, that's okay. Hopefully they're arrested and put into a gulag. That's what you do with insurrectionists, right? I'm in favor of this because I'm in favor of the remaking the national conversation about abortion. Some people are like, oh, this is going to affect us on the electoral ballot. You need to be able to call out evil for what it is. And we need Republicans to start talking about this issue, not as like we're scared of it, but you need to start talking about this issue as though, no, this is a societal evil. It is baby murder, and it needs to be limited, like all societal evils. You can't totally get rid of drug abuse. You can't totally get rid of people who, commit all sorts of horrible acts. But the government can limit those acts. They can limit that because they see it as the role of government is to try and incentivize flourishing, human flourishing. We're right now not even at replacement population here in America. There's like 1.17 children being born. That's not even replacement population. No, we're not even replacing our population. It's going to be a totally different country if we don't turn this thing around. And you have 70 million babies that were aborted since the passage of Roe. 70 million. 70 million? What is that? It's like 35% of the country. It's evil. It's evil. There's so many issues with it, and Republicans need to grow a set of balls and say, you know what, this is wrong. And we should be limiting things that are evil in society, okay? And so that's where I stand on this issue. And so I'm very, very proud of this. It also self-sorts. What's happening right now in this country, and I would argue that this is a wonderful thing, what's happening right now in this country is federalism. The way our country was designed was that states were supposed to be their own incubators of democracy, and you're able to have whatever, really like within the means of the law. Don't hurt another person, I guess, right? Don't abort them. Within the means of the law, you're supposed to be able to like create the environment that the majority of that state wants, right? So don't dehumanize people, but you can create that environment, and it's actually wonderful what's happening right now because libs don't want to move to Florida. Because parents have rights, because these groomers are banned, and so on and so on and so forth. And so it's really good, actually, that Florida is passing these laws because it self-sorts. Libs that may want to move down here are going to be like, I think no, actually. I'm going to say maybe not. Maybe not there. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. Stay the hell out. Stay the hell out. Go worship Satan somewhere else. We do not worship Satan on our show, ladies and gentlemen. We certainly do not. We fight. And we fight as hard as we possibly can. And we want to give you the tools to fight with. And that is why every single show we read a Bible verse. Every show we end with the verse of the day. This one from John 14:6. Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. Christ was resurrected this last weekend. Walk forward in the glory and in the victory that is Christ's resurrection. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. See ya.